How I practiced English every day and overcame my mistakes. When I first started learning English, I quickly realized that practicing every day was the key to improvement. However, staying consistent was not always easy. There were days when I felt highly motivated and excited to learn, but there were also moments when I felt tired, frustrated, or even discouraged. Still, I reminded myself that progress happens step by step. Even on difficult days, I pushed myself to do at least a little practice because I knew that every small effort counted. To make sure I retained what I had learned, I developed a simple but effective routine, reviewing my lessons every night before going to bed. This habit became a crucial part of my learning journey. Reviewing before bed, a simple but powerful habit. Every night, I dedicated a few minutes to revising what I had studied during the day. This routine helped me reinforce new vocabulary, understand grammar rules more deeply, and refine my pronunciation. It was a way to keep the language fresh in my mind and prevent myself from forgetting important details. 1. Revising my notebook. One of my most effective strategies was going through my notebook, where I wrote down new words, phrases, and grammar structures. Instead of just reading them passively, I actively engaged with the content. I tried to create sentences using new words to strengthen my understanding and recall. Sometimes I tested myself by covering the definitions and trying to remember their meanings. This method turned revision into an interactive and engaging process, making it easier to retain information. 2. Practicing pronunciation by reading aloud. In addition to reviewing vocabulary and grammar, I made pronunciation practice a priority. I read English texts aloud, whether short articles, dialogues, or stories, focusing on speaking clearly and confidently. At first, I struggled with certain sounds, but over time, I became more comfortable with English pronunciation. Reading aloud not only helped me improve my pronunciation, but also boosted my fluency. I started recognizing common sentence patterns, improving my intonation, and feeling more natural while speaking. This simple yet powerful habit made a noticeable difference in my ability to express myself in English. Weekend activities. Keeping learning fun and engaging. On weekends, I wanted to keep learning interesting so I wouldn't get bored. I tried different activities that helped me learn English in a fun way. 3. Watching travel vlogs and cooking videos in English travel vlogs helped me learn new words related to places, culture, and experiences. Our cooking videos introduced me to food-related vocabulary and everyday expressions. 2. Playing English learning games. Online, I found some interactive English games that made learning fun. Some games helped me learn new words, while others tested my grammar and spelling. 5. Writing an email in English. One weekend, I challenged myself to write an email in English to a friend who was also learning English. It was a great way to practice formal writing and expressing ideas clearly. 6. Joining online language forums. I joined English learning communities where I could ask questions and participate in discussions. Reading comments and replies from different people helped me see how English is used in real-life situations. 5. Dealing with frustration. The challenges of learning English. Practicing every day was not always easy. There were times when I felt stuck, especially when I didn't see quick progress. Feeling stuck and frustrated. I remember feeling frustrated when I couldn't understand native speakers. I also felt bad when I made the same mistakes again and again. Sometimes I thought, am I really improving? But then I reminded myself that learning a language is a journey, and progress takes time. 6. Tracking. Progress. A motivational strategy. To stay motivated, I started tracking my progress. 1. Using a calendar to track daily practice. I made a small calendar and marked each day I practiced English. Seeing all the marks on my calendar made me feel proud and motivated to continue. 2. Recording myself. Speaking in English, I started recording my voice once a week to see how my pronunciation and fluency improved over time. Tracking my progress helped me see my improvement, which kept me motivated to keep learning. Finding the right balance in learning English. One challenge I faced was focusing too much on one skill while neglecting others. 1. Balancing. Reading, writing, listening, and speaking. At first, I spent too much time on listening and forgot about speaking. Then, I focused too much on writing, but ignored pronunciation practice. I realized that a good English learning routine should include all aspects of the language. Reading improves vocabulary and comprehension. Writing helps with grammar and sentence structure. Listening helps understand spoken English. Speaking builds confidence and fluency. My advice for learning English. If you want to improve your English, my advice is 1. Practice a little every day. Even 15 to 30 minutes a day can make a big difference. 2. Use different methods. Don't just rely on books. Watch movies, listen to music, and read interesting articles. 3. Make learning fun. Choose topics that interest you. The more you enjoy it, the easier it will be to stay motivated. 4. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. Every mistake helps you improve. Mistakes I made when learning English and what I learned from them. Let me be honest with you. I made a lot of mistakes when I started learning English. But you know what? That's completely normal. At first, I used to feel frustrated and embarrassed when I made mistakes. I thought, what if people laugh at me? What if I never get better? But over time, I realized that mistakes are actually good. They help us grow and improve. Focusing too much on grammar. I thought that if I memorized all the grammar rules, I would be able to speak English perfectly. I spent too much time studying grammar books and doing grammar exercises. But when it came to speaking, I hesitated because I was afraid of making grammar mistakes. I kept thinking, should I say, I have been or I had been? What I learned. Grammar is important, but you don't need to be perfect to speak English. Instead of only focusing on grammar, I started learning useful phrases and practicing speaking naturally. being too afraid to speak English. For a long time, I avoided speaking English because I was afraid of making mistakes. Even when I had a chance to talk to someone, I stayed silent. I thought people will judge me if I said something wrong. But one day I realized that my fear was stopping me from improving. How I overcame my fear. I started speaking alone at home. I practiced thinking in English throughout the day. I found language exchange partners online and started talking with real people, thinking that reading and writing were enough. At first, I believed that reading books and writing sentences would be enough to learn English. I spent hours reading and writing, but when I tried to watch a movie, I couldn't understand anything. Native speakers spoke too fast, and I felt lost. What I learned listening is just as important as reading and writing. I started watching videos, listening to podcasts, and practicing real-life conversations. Mistakes are normal. They are proof that you are learning. Consistency is key. Even small practice sessions help you improve. Don't be afraid to speak. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. If you are on your English learning journey, keep going. You will get better step by step. Are you ready to improve your English? Let me know in the comments. How I overcame my mistakes and found the best ways to learn English. When I started learning English, I made many mistakes. But over time, I realized that mistakes are not bad. They are actually part of the learning process. Each mistake I made taught me something valuable and helped me improve. In this post, I want to share some of the biggest mistakes I made and how I fixed them. Hopefully, you can learn from my experience and avoid making the same mistakes. Neglecting my listening skills. At first, I focused a lot on reading and writing, but I didn't pay much attention to listening. I thought that if I could read English well, I would automatically understand spoken English. But I was wrong. Why listening is important. English sounds very different from how it looks in writing. Many words are pronounced differently from how they are spelled. Native speakers use contractions, slang, and fast speech, which made it hard for me to understand them. I remember watching an English movie for the first time without subtitles, and I couldn't understand anything. It was frustrating. I realized that listening is a skill that needs practice, just like speaking or writing. How I fixed this mistake. To improve my listening, I started listening to English every day. I listened to podcasts. I started with beginner-friendly podcasts that used slow and clear English. I watched YouTube videos. I chose videos with subtitles so I could read while listening. I listened to English songs. At first, I didn't understand much, but I followed the lyrics to learn new words. A great listening tip. Instead of trying to understand every single word, I focused on the general meaning. This helped me stay relaxed and enjoy the process. Lesson learned. If you're learning English, make sure to include listening practice in your routine. The more you listen, the more familiar the language will become to you. Memorizing. Too many words. Without context. I used to think that if I knew a lot of vocabulary, I would be fluent. So I made long lists of words and tried to memorize them every day. But guess what? I forgot most of them after a few days. Why memorizing words without context doesn't work? Learning random words without understanding how to use them is not effective. Real-life English is about using words in sentences and situations, not just knowing their meanings. How I fixed this mistake? Instead of memorizing random words, I started learning vocabulary through sentences and real-life situations. Example: instead of just learning the word delicious, I learned the phrase, "This food is delicious." This helped me understand how to use the word naturally, remember words more easily. Don't worry about learning thousands of words. Instead, focus on useful words and phrases that you can actually use in daily life. Quality is better than quantity. Comparing myself to other learners. At one point, I made the mistake of comparing myself to others. I would see people speaking English fluently and think, why can't I speak like them? I felt discouraged and even thought about giving up. But later, I realized something important. Everyone learns at their own pace. Some people learn faster, while others take more time, and that's okay. Comparing yourself to others will only make you feel frustrated. How I changed my mindset? Instead of comparing myself to others, I started comparing myself to my past progress. If today I can say one more sentence than I could last week, that's progress. If I understand one more word than before, I am improving. Lesson learned. Don't compare yourself to others. Focus on your own journey and celebrate small improvements. Mistake 4. Studying too much in one day and then stopping. In the beginning, I was very excited about learning English. I studied for hours every day, but after a few weeks, I got tired and stopped for a while. Then I forgot many things I had learned. I realized that studying too much in one day and then stopping for a long time was not a good idea. How I fixed this mistake? I learned that consistency is the key to improving my English. Instead of studying for 5 hours once a week, I started practicing for 15 to 30 minutes every day. Even on busy days, I tried to do something small, like reading a short article or listening to a song. Lesson learned. If you want to improve your English, try to practice every day, even if it's just a little. Mistake 5. Being afraid to make mistakes. In the beginning, I was scared to speak English. I thought, what if I make a mistake? What if people laugh at me? Because of this fear, I avoided speaking for a long time. But then I realized something important. Mistakes are not bad. Mistakes are proof that you are learning. Every time you make a mistake, you have an opportunity to improve. How I overcame this fear? I started speaking more. Even if I made mistakes, I kept going. I reminded myself that nobody speaks perfectly at first. I learned that people don't judge you. Most are happy to help. Lesson learned. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes help you grow. The most important lessons I learned. Here's what I want you to remember. Don't focus too much on grammar. Speak as much as you can. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. They are part of the learning process. Practice listening every day. It's just as important as speaking. Learn vocabulary in context. Don't just memorize individual words. Don't compare yourself to others. Focus on your own progress. Be consistent. Practicing a little every day is better than studying a lot once a week. Learning a language takes time, and you will make mistakes along the way. But if you keep going and don't give up, you will improve. Speak without fear. Listen as much as you can. Practice every day. Enjoy the journey. The more you practice, the better you will become. Believe in yourself and keep learning. What helped me the most in learning English? Now that I've shared the mistakes I made, in the next part, I'll tell you about the strategies that helped me the most and how you can use them too. So stay with me. I'm excited to share these tips with you. See you in the next part. How surrounding myself with English. Every day helped me improve. One of the biggest things that helped me improve my English was making English a part of my daily life. Instead of just thinking of English as a subject to study, I found ways to include it in my routine, even when I wasn't actively studying. The more I surrounded myself with English, the more natural it felt. I didn't have to force myself to learn. It became a habit. Small daily changes that made a big difference. 1. Changing the language on my phone and social media. I switched my phone settings to English. My social media apps, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, were all in English. This forced me to read and understand English every day. Even though it was a small change, it made a big impact. Instead of reading in my native language, I was constantly exposed to English words and sentences. 2. Following English-speaking influencers. I followed English-speaking YouTubers, Instagram influencers, and bloggers. Watching their daily stories helped me learn real conversational English. I learned slang, casual expressions, and natural phrases that I wouldn't find in textbooks. 3. Seeing real people speaking English helped me understand how the language is used in everyday life. Moth YouTube, my best friend in my English learning journey. YouTube became one of my favorite resources for learning English. There were so many free lessons on grammar, simple explanations that were easier to understand than vocabulary, learning new words and how to use them. Pronunciation, practicing difficult sounds and accents. Cultural topics, understanding English in different countries. The types of videos that helped me the most. Real-life conversations, watching native speakers have natural discussions helped me understand how English is spoken in real situations. Storytelling videos, people sharing life experiences helped me learn new words and sentence structures. Educational channels. I watched videos about common mistakes, pronunciation tips, and grammar explanations. These videos helped me avoid errors and speak more accurately. Being an active learner on YouTube, instead of just watching passively, I became an active learner. I took notes, writing down new words and phrases. I repeated phrases, practicing pronunciation out loud. I paused the video, saying sentences along with the speaker. YouTube wasn't just entertainment, it was a powerful learning tool for me. Podcasts, audiobooks, the game changers. At first, I found listening difficult because people spoke too fast. But then I discovered podcasts made for English learners, and they changed everything. How podcasts helped me improve. They were slow and clear, making them easy to understand. I listened while doing other tasks, walking, cooking, or lying in bed. They explained difficult words so I could learn as I listened. Listening every day helped me get used to the rhythm of the language, improve my pronunciation without even realizing it, feel more comfortable with natural speech patterns, using audiobooks to improve listening reading. I listened to audiobooks while following along with the text. This helped me connect spoken words to their written form. I repeated sentences to practice pronunciation and fluency. The best part? I could learn English while doing other activities. How movies, TV shows helped me learn English. Movies and TV shows were not just entertainment. They were an important part of my learning process. My step-by-step method, watching with subtitles in my native language. To understand the story, switching to English subtitles. To connect words with their meanings, watching again without subtitles. To practice listening comprehension. The best trick? Watching the same episode or movie twice. The first time I watched for enjoyment. The second time I focused on the language. This method helped me remember phrases and understand spoken English better. Using the pause and repeat method. I paused after short phrases and repeated them. This helped me practice pronunciation and sentence structure. Watching English movies and TV shows wasn't just fun. It was an effective way to learn. How I practiced speaking without a teacher. Speaking was probably the most challenging part of my journey. Since I didn't have a teacher or native speakers around me, I had to find creative ways to practice speaking, talking to myself in English. One of the simplest and most effective ways I improved my speaking skills was talking to myself. I stood in front of the mirror and had small conversations with myself. I asked myself questions like, "What are your plans for today? How was your day?" I answered in full sentences. I also described my surroundings. I am in my room. I see a chair, a table, and a book. This helped me think in English without translating from my native language. Recording myself speaking. At first, I was afraid to hear my own voice in English. But then I started recording myself speaking about different topics. I picked simple topics like my favorite food, hobbies, or a recent event. I spoke for a few minutes and recorded it. I listened to the recording and compared it to native speakers. Why this helped me improve. I noticed pronunciation mistakes and corrected them. I tracked my progress. After a few months, I could hear how much better I sounded. It gave me confidence. I realized I could speak English fluently with practice, speaking with real people, online language exchange apps. Later, I discovered language exchange apps where I could chat with real people around the world. I found native English speakers who wanted to learn my language. We helped each other by chatting in both languages. I practiced real-world conversations without leaving my home. This was one of the best ways to gain confidence and improve fluency. Learning English alone wasn't always easy, but these methods helped me improve faster. Surround yourself with English. Change your phone, social media, and daily activities to English. Use YouTube wisely. Take notes, repeat phrases, and practice speaking out loud. Listen every day. Podcasts and audiobooks help you get used to real spoken English. Watch movies and TV shows actively. Use subtitles, pause and repeat, and watch more than once. Practice speaking alone. Talk to yourself. Describe your surroundings and think in English. Record yourself. Listen to your own voice and track your progress. Talk with real people. Use language exchange apps to chat with native speakers. Keep going. You will improve. Learning a language takes time and patience. But if you surround yourself with English every day, you will improve. Make it fun. Stay consistent. Enjoy the journey. No matter where you are in your learning journey, believe in yourself and keep practicing. How I improved my English speaking skills. Step by step. When I gained more confidence in my English, I started practicing with real people. This was a big step because speaking with others helped me have natural conversations, use everyday expressions, overcome my fear of speaking in English. At first I felt nervous, but I soon realized that the more I spoke, the easier it became. Here's how I improved my speaking skills and how you can do the same. Finding language partners. Practicing with real people. One of the best things I did was using online platforms to find language exchange partners. Talking to real people helped me get used to natural speech. I learned how to respond quickly without translating in my head. I became more confident in conversations. A helpful tip. Prepare before conversations. At first, I worried about running out of things to say. Then I learned a great tip. Prepare some questions and topics before the conversation. This way, I always had something to talk about. For example, before talking to someone, I would prepare questions like, what do you do in your free time? What's your favorite travel destination? What are your hobbies? This made conversations easier and more enjoyable. Shadowing, the technique that transformed my speaking. One of the most effective techniques I used was shadowing. What is shadowing? Shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say immediately. I practiced this with interviews with native speakers, podcasts, movies, and TV shows. How shadowing helped me improve. It improved my pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. I learned to speak more naturally without sounding robotic. I got used to how native speakers form sentences, how I practiced shadowing. I started with subtitles. This helped me see the words while hearing them. Later, I removed the subtitles. I challenged myself to rely only on listening. I repeated sentences multiple times until my pronunciation improved. Over time, I started sounding more natural and fluent. Learning whole phrases instead of individual words. At first, I tried to memorize individual words, but I realized that this made conversations difficult. So instead, I started learning whole phrases. Why? Because in real conversations, we use phrases, not just single words. Example, instead of just learning the word busy, I learned, I've been really busy lately. I'm too busy to go out today. Learning phrases like this made it easier to speak fluently because I didn't have to think too much about grammar. My sentences sounded more natural and automatic. If you want to speak more fluently, try learning phrases that native speakers actually use. Speaking slowly and clearly, the key to better communication.